guys, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph. You're listening to Pretentious Cinephile 1982. Check us out, our past works on pretentiouscinephile1982.blogspot.com. We're also on YouTube, just type in that name. And Pinterest, you can check out some cool film-related items, including film cells and some new 4K Blu-ray releases on our Pinterest. That's pinterest.com/pretentiouscinephile1982. This episode is going to be pretty short. Try to keep it short anyway, under 30 minutes. We'll see if I can do that. But I'm getting ready to screen some movie soon, so I may be kind of rushing through this. I apologize if it feels that way. But I'll tell you what I'm going to be viewing at the end of the episode, if you care to do some homework for the next episode after this. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about 4 of the recent films of Noah Baumbach, a truly singular writer-director auteur, and that's going to include the Meyerowitz stories, Old and New and Selected, I believe is the full title, 2017 American comedy drama film that streamed on Netflix. I believe Baumbach, I'm talking about, hammered out a deal with them, and it sounds like a pretty good deal to me, because he doesn't need to find funding for future films and he can just pretty much do what he pleases. I believe after that he made Marriage Story 2019 with Adam Driver and ScarJo, Kylo Ren and Black Widow. 2022 he made White Noise, kind of a departure, not an original work of his, not coming from an original script, I should say, starring Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig, and Don Cheadle. And we're going to finish it out. I'm going to be talking mostly about J. Kelly and how these films previous relate to that film, pretty much. Going to just touch upon those 3 earlier films preceding J. Kelly. Be dedicating most of the podcast to talking about J. Kelly, the 2025 film that just dropped on Netflix, starring George Clooney, Adam Driver. Sorry, Adam Sandler, the other Adam, Laura Dern, Billy Crudup. Phenomenal cast, and I'm gonna come out and say it's going to be one of my top films of the year. A lot of people have problems with it, but I'm going to address those and tell you why I don't care about what they say. Sounds pretty obnoxious of me, right? So, with that, let's just get right into it. Noah Baumbach is, like I said, pretty singular auteur, writer, director. Made his mark with the 1990 film Kicking and Screaming. Went on to make a bunch of other like-minded, similar type of family dramas, indie films about family and art, and artists in particular. Very talky, very Woody Allen, very New York, very sophisticated, intellectual kind of independent filmmaker, and with a touch of esoteric. Whereupon he, made some films with Wes Anderson. I believe he wrote, I'm looking at his filmography here, he wrote The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and Fantastic Mr. Fox. And those, he has a very, collaborative relationship with Wes Anderson. I can see how their styles mesh, in particular, how they really tackle upon that theme of family, of father-son relationships in particular. Thinking about that relationship in The Life Aquatic with the Bill Murray character and Owen Wilson, probably also in Fantastic Mr. Fox. Gotta say my top film is still going to be While We're Young at this point, the 2014 film with Adam Driver, Amanda Seyfried, Naomi Watts, and Ben Stiller. It's kind of a dichotomy of 2 different generations, and how they meet, and you know, they're two documentary filmmakers, Ben Stiller and Adam Driver. Adam Driver's like this hipster, young, hungry kid who's, you know, trying to make it as a filmmaker. Ben Stiller's like kind of aging, working on this project for years, and very, very great, very measured depiction of these two generations, and equal parts funny, equal parts, you know, heady and intellectual. I think it's his most accessible film, his most ambitious. No, I wouldn't say ambitious. His most accessible film, his most comedic film. You know, that manages all of his themes. I really like his early filmography as well, Kicking and Screaming, Mr. Jealousy, hit or miss. Squid and the Whale in particular really hit upon this notion of a family of artists and how complicated that would be. A theme that he would explore and revisit, you know, in the Meyerowitz stories. To lesser effect, I would say. Maybe he had more time to explore it in Meyerowitz stories, but Squid and the Whale is like less than an hour and a half, maybe less than an hour and 20. So just very breezy, kind of get to the point film. But let's dive right into the Meyerowitz stories. I don't remember too much about it when I first saw it. Don't remember too much about it. Revisiting it, so revisiting it now, it felt like I was watching it again for the first time. I completely forgot Ben Stiller was in it. I forgot that Adam Sandler had a cool cameo in it, and it just may have not made a big impression on me, or maybe I was in it. I was not in the mood at the time when I saw it. Something, but I really liked it this time around for the reasons I stated. Its relation to the Squid and the Whale, this family of artists. Dustin Hoffman is this in his twilight career as a sculptor, and has two sons, three kids, two sons, two kids from a previous marriage, and then one son, Ben Stiller, from his second wife or third wife, something like that. And a great cast: Adam Sandler, Ben Stiller, Elizabeth Marvel as Jean Meyerowitz, Adam as Danny, and Ben as Matthew. And they keep getting into this argument over whether, you know, one of his sculptures was named after Matthew, but it was actually made after Danny, you know. And the Dustin Hoffman character Harold cannot get an opening, and his rival, his contemporary, played by, I believe, Judd Hirsch, is at a gallery, and he's just this struggling artist, retired college professor, moderately successful sculptor. I'm reading from the wiki here, and it's bittersweet and comedic, and the Harold character is the most hilarious because he's just this curmudgeon, right? This old guy who can't remember a thing, and who's just like beyond the times we're living in now. And that's always a fun character to write in modern times. But not my favorite Noah Baumbach film. It was fun to revisit the film, I believe 8 years later, so I felt like I was watching it for the first time. So that's the Meyerowitz stories from 2017. It's available on Netflix. Let's get into the Marriage Story. Just Marriage Story, not The Marriage Story, just Marriage Story. And here's a theme that he is familiar with. I believe Noah Baumbach was married to Jennifer Jason Leigh. His first marriage, I don't know how many marriages he has. I don't want to look it up, but I know that he divorced her and married Greta Gerwig, the younger actress. So think of that. Look into that what you will. Heady, weighty film about, you know, the intricacies, the politics of divorce, and how the complications of it. It's just the Squid and the Whale with younger characters. Squid and the Whale is about middle-age marriage falling apart, separation. They're in the midst of separating and then tearing the two kids apart. And, each kid had to choose a parent. In this one, there's only one kid, and it just really no room for comedy here. Obviously, it's just these two people being ripped apart, ripped across coasts, and the story of gaslighting. I should preface this by saying, mild spoilers for all 4 films I'm going to be talking about, but spoilers for Marriage Story from here on out. The Scarlett Johansson character starts off the film kind of saying, "I'm going to move to LA." They're both in the theater. Adam Driver's character Charlie is a theater director, and Nicole ScarJo's character is like his lead actress, and he brought her up from nothing. So she's moving back to LA. She was originally from LA and starting a pilot and taking her kid with them, and he's just thinking, oh, they're going to move back. But really it's just like this first move in like this battle of, I'm going to establish myself out here and then get a lawyer and do all this stuff while he's busy working on his play. He just received the MacArthur Fellowship grant. Talking about Charlie here, the Adam Driver character. And it's just this tug of war, politics between the two lawyers. The Ray Liotta character is one of his final roles as Charlie's lawyer, his second lawyer after the Alan Alda character. Is just kind of too nice, I want to say. Yeah, too just like easy. He's very humanistic to him at first. That's why he chooses him. But then he doesn't really know how to fight, for things as per a divorce lawyer should do. He's not a shark, right? Not as good as the Laura Dern character, Laura Fanshawe. But with the tour de force scene here is, I believe, the scene that comes in the third act of the film. Charlie's established himself in an apartment in LA so he can, have visitation rights for his kid. And they're still in the midst of the divorce. They're still fighting for custody. At that point, I believe all their teeth have been shown, after Charlie hires the Ray Liotta character, the shark. And it all comes out in this stunning kind of tete-a-tete, this argument between them that just all comes to a boil, and reminds me very much of like, the downfall of all these marriages, the downfall of all these relationship type scenes. I'm thinking of, Contempt, the Godard film from the 60s, as well as Before Midnight, the Linklater film where our title characters are in the later years of their marriage, and they're just like at odds with each other and just argue for like 30 minutes straight. I don't think that it's that long in this movie, but it feels that way. It just feels just cathartic, just emotionally draining. They come to a head, and I believe, Charlie says, "I wish you get a disease and die," or something like that. Just very, we've all been there, right? Just heated debates, heated arguments with our person, that we love. What do they say? You hurt the person that you love the most because you're so familiar with them. Over familiarity, right? All that stuff. Great character study. Noah Baumbach has never not been a stranger to character study, and it really shows in Marriage Story here. Not a walk in the park, not a lot of bright. There are some funny moments, and it's pretty lighthearted when it comes to Alan Alda and Ray Liotta and Laura Dern. But as far as our main characters are concerned, it's pretty dark and pretty depressing. And I want to say it's one of his last films that, I mean, according to this trajectory, it feels like one of the last stories, last films that's going to be very character driven, very dialogue driven, because we're getting to White Noise here, 2022. His first adaptation of a novel. Apparently, it was deemed unfilmable. Absurdist comedy drama film about like an environmental disaster and a family of intellectuals, of course, a niche academic family, and go through their trials and tribulations. Very, you know, allegory, obviously the allegory for COVID. It feels like such a departure because I forget it, its production company, it was A24. Feels very niche. It's not breezy. 136 minutes. Feels like him heading into maximalist filmmaking territory. What I mean by that is, he's not just two characters in a room talking anymore. It's not, just these familial themes, which are there, but it's basically an action film. It's an absurdist comedy drama film here, but there's a lot of car chases, not car chases, but environmental disaster, huge events that happen, and calls for big budget sequences that you don't see, and you would never think that to see that kind of sequence in a Noah Baumbach film. But after this, he wrote the script. Well, he co-wrote the script with Greta Gerwig for Barbie, which is $1 billion box office film. A lot of big budget sequences in that film. Another kind of maximalist film, if you will, for Greta Gerwig, who's kind of known for, again, like talky relationship dramas. So huge departure for him. I was very surprised. I wouldn't say off put, but I was just like surprisingly, took me by surprise, and it just contrasted so heavily to his other works that I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Maybe that element just made me kind of praise it, and felt a little dazzling. I felt dazzled by the spectacle, and I probably was really high off of some syrup, some edibles for the layman. So I was just like kind of shocked seeing it, and just like, whoa, this movie's kind of crazy. And for that element alone, I think I liked it more when I first saw it upon second viewing. This time around, not so much. I felt like it was disconnected, and it just felt like he was doing those sequences for the sake of doing them. It just didn't. It wasn't coherent, if that makes sense. And I get what he's trying to do with all the allegory to COVID and pandemic themes. It just didn't really hit for me. Love Adam Driver in anything, so he was kind of cool. And the third act kind of devolves into this weird, like, paranoid thriller. So again, all over the place. It feels like he doesn't know how to marry different genres, and feels like an experimental piece for him, and a huge stepping stone in a film that is more up his alley in Jay Kelly. So let's talk about Jay Kelly, 2025 film, comedy drama film about an aging actor, an aging brand actor. This is like the actor in this film. He's like, he is the Tom Cruise, is the Brad Pitt, is the George Clooney, right? And is kind of at a crossroads at the end of his career. I love films like these. You guys know, if you've heard past episodes of The Laser Boy and past episodes of Pretentious Cinephile, that I love films about movie making, films about filmmakers, films about actors, anything about showbiz. I want to be in the biz. Who knows if I'll ever get in there, but I love the politics of movie making, of show business, and this movie was right up my alley. I think one of the first films Noah Baumbach made about the industry, and the trailer hooked me. He co-wrote this film with Emily Mortimer, who I know from, I was about to say Network, but it was the Newsroom, the Aaron Sorkin HBO 3-season drama series. Aaron Sorkin is another kind of fast-talking New Yorker type intellectual who has his characters like talking over each other all the time. But yeah, Jay Kelly, people have a lot of problems with, I guess, the consistency of the characters and like the believability of some of the relationships, but I don't care. I love this film. I love this 8.5 aspect. It reminds me of people related to Wild Strawberries, another film about a person at the end of their career who kind of look back and with nostalgia, with regret about their life choices. So it feels strangely like a filmmaker, like this is like a film an old person would make, right? To reflect on their, it mirrors their own insecurities, their anxieties about their own career. Noah Baumbach is, I want to say, in his 60s. He's 56. So, wow, yeah, I don't know why he made this at this age, but it works. And it reminds me of another film. Jake Kelly. Noah Baumbach is very Woody Allen-esque, so he's probably like the predecessor, like the next Woody Allen. So I don't want to get into Woody Allen's real life personality, but I guess you have to whenever you talk about him. But a film of his, Rifkin's Festival, made in 2020, was rarely seen by anybody, probably because of his antics. In real life, when the 2019 documentary came out about his daughter who accused him of sexual abuse, nobody went to see this. I believe it didn't get I don't think it got U.S. distribution at all. But it is Rifkin's Festival, another film about kind of a retrospective of a filmmaker. Very European, very Stardust Memories, too. I think it's Stardust Memories, or is it Zelig? What the film that Woody Allen made, where there was a director in there, and who had a retrospective, and he looked back on his work. So a lot of influences here. The relationship between George Clooney and his daughters, I guess the gist of the plot of the film is that Jay Kelly is this huge star. He's just wrapping another production at the beginning of this film, and he wants to spend time with his youngest daughter, who's leaving for college, and he felt like throughout his career, maybe his 30-plus career of acting, he has been not negligent, but absent, an absentee father, not there for his kids, and he just wants to kind of make up for that and follow her around Europe. She's going to Italy and France with her friends, some kind of jazz festival, I believe, and he follows her, tracking her phone, I believe, somehow. And the other aspect of this film is the relationship between him and his manager. Adam Sandler plays his manager, Ron Sukanik, Laura Dern as his publicist, Billy Crudup as his acting school buddy who never got his big break. Who again, spoilers for Jay Kelly, but Billy Crudup resents him for taking the role that was meant to make him famous. So another aspect of this film is he goes in and out of memories, and then you see on set that the train turns into, he goes at actually I think it was the private jet, the PJ. He goes into the cockpit, and the cockpit turns into the acting stage that he was in acting school with, where we see the origins of said contentious relationship with the Billy Crudup character Timothy. And throughout the film we see him kind of just go into memory. And the thing about what's cool about the production design is that there's no CG. I believe the train sequence is on the volume, So they had to do that to make it more controlled, right? And then, but they built these sets to make it look like him actually going into the walking into the past, like a memory palace sort of technique of production design is really fantastic. Again, when I say like he's becoming like a maximalist filmmaker, that's what I mean. Is like he's utilizing sets in a big way, and I believe the J. Kelly mansion that we see in the beginning of the film is one of the most elaborate sets I've ever seen. Mid-century modern, I want to say, and the exteriors were Jack Nicholson's house, I believe. The pool and all that, but Noah Baumbach was just not satisfied with the interiors. He wanted to reflect a kind of a warmness but sadness, right? Like it would be warm if it was full of people in it, but now that the nest is gone, it just feels so like empty and cold and detached. And again, it just one of the themes that lines up with the J. Kelly character is that he's feeling cold and detached because of people are leaving him. He's alienating everybody. Maybe he alienated everybody to begin with, and he's just realizing it now. Ron, his manager, is just like feels like him and the Laura Dern character had a relationship previous to this. Ron's married now with kids. So is Liz, I believe. But they were together, and then kind of it's not fully revealed, or it's not further examined how their relationship would have been, but it's clear that Jay Kelly got between them. They were too caught up in his career and work that it kind of tore them apart. And then now at the end of his career, I'm talking about the Laura Dern character and Adam Sandler. They're just realizing how we need him more than he needs us, kind of thing. Or I should say that we care more about him than he cares about us. The Ron and Liz character talking about their relationship to Jay Kelly, right? Because he's just like this big man-child, Jay Kelly, who just really selfish. He keeps trying to make amends with his older daughter, the Riley Keough character, who is in therapy because of him, and wants nothing to do with him. He just keeps trying to reconnect with her. One of the most heartbreaking moments is he is in Italy for one of the retrospectives that they made for him for his character, and he just wants her to come. Jessica, I believe her character's name is. He wants her to come and see what they're gonna do for him. At the end, they're just gonna do this kind of highlight reel for him and give him an award, a retrospective award for his career, and she just refuses to come out there for it. And she says in a very cathartic moment that I'm going to be happy, just not with you. And broke my heart. I believe that is the catalyst of the contention of a lot of people, is that they can't relate to his character. He is a very kind of vapid showbiz type of character, right? If you're not into that kind of genre, if you don't know about showbiz, if you don't know about the vapidity, is that a word? The vapidity, I'll just say it, of actors and their career and how selfish they are, you're not going to relate to him at all. You're going to say, fuck this guy. He betrayed his family for his career. He had this kind of focus that he couldn't break. Maybe that's the only way you can be successful. You know what I mean? You need this cold, detached focus. Kind of makes you a sociopath. Maybe all actors are like that, and it's a great theme that Noah Baumbach is delving into and studying, and I appreciate it immensely. The ending here is very, very Babylon-esque, insofar as it creates this kind of highlight reel of his life in movies, and if you're familiar at all with George Clooney's work, maybe it'll give you a tear to know that it is possibly coming to an end. You know, definitely put a tear in the Jay Kelly character's eyes as he watched all of his life's work on screen wrapped up in 2 minutes to a standing ovation. And then the final line of the film is George Clooney looking into the camera saying, can we run it back? Can we get another one? Can I get it? Can we go again? And it's very open-ended. I really like this ending. I really like that line. It's a callback to when he's on set finishing his last production, and his character is famous for doing another take. I'm not happy with that. Can we do another one? I feel like I could do better. It's a callback to that. But is he saying it in relation to that? Can I get another take? As in, can I get another? Can you run the highlight reel back? Or can I get another shot at life? Would he do it any different? Would he spend more time with his now, I can't think of the word right, but his daughter who won't speak to him anymore? Or would he get a second chance with his most recent daughter to make it right? We don't know. It could be both. Could be gonna wait for this. Could be a little bit of both, or it just could be the latter. He wants another chance with his daughters. I don't think so. Just insofar as it feels like he loves his life so much. He loves the thrill of acting so much. I don't think he would change much. So it's up for interpretation. What do you guys think? Very open-ended line of dialogue there. Noah Baumbach is a fantastic writer. Him and Emily Mortimer have concocted a masterful piece of writing in this film. Gotta say, it's one of my favorite films of the year. Probably gonna be top 5 at the very least. And that's gonna do it for me. Top 5 Noah Baumbach films. I gotta have one from each era, but right now, my number one film of his is While We're Young. So let's just get that out of the way. Number 1 film, While We're Young. Number 2, just because it's so fresh in my head right now, I'll just say Jay Kelly. Number 3, Frances Ha. I love that film. I want to say Greenberg too, because it felt like a new era for him after his first film with Greta Gerwig. I believe Greta Gerwig wrote that with his then wife Jennifer Jason Leigh. Shit, Jesus Christ, he just found his new girl right under her nose, right? No, number 3 is gonna be Frances Ha. Yeah, number 2 will be number 4 will be The Squid and the Whale. Number 5, it's a toss-up between Marriage Story and Greenberg. I got 2 films from his mid 2010s are up there already, so I'll just say Marriage Story is my number 5. So there you have it. That's my top 5 Noah Baumbach films. One of my favorite filmmakers. He loves the Nouvelle Vague. He loves French New Wave, as we saw in the final line of the Jeff Daniels character in The Squid and the Whale. Qu'est-ce que c'est dégueulasse? What is scumbag? So there you have it. Noah Baumbach. His last 4 movies on Netflix. He's got a fantastic deal with them. I keep saying that with my friend Chuck there. Chuck told me that, and I just can't agree with him more. He's got a fantastic deal with Netflix over there. He's gonna keep bringing these out, and this is a great trajectory for him. He's on his maximalist kick here after White Noise, after Barbie too. Maybe Barbie really inspired him to just go big with like set design, production design, but on a relatively lower scale this time around than White Noise. It's not an action set piece. However, there are set pieces in Jay Kelly that are more quieter, more intimate, more character driven. So that's going to be interesting to see what his next film is in accordance to that trajectory. You know what I mean? So That's gonna do it for me. Try to keep the shorts under 40 minutes here. So thank you guys for listening. That was Noah Baumbach, the most recent 4 films of Noah Baumbach. Hope you guys enjoyed those films as much as I did. Next episode, going to be talking about the Knives Out trilogy. Recently just rewatched Knives Out, rewatched Glass Onion, which I only saw one time in 2022, so it was very fun to watch, to revisit that. And then had a blast with Wake Up Dead Man. It's a fucking great film. Watch that right away, guys. If you don't want to do the Knives Out, Glass Onion, at least watch Wake Up Dead Man, because I'm going to be covering that on the next episode. Probably going to be my last episode of the year, and going to take a break after that. Perhaps do a top 10 list of 2025 films of the year. We'll see. What do you think, guys? Go ahead and catch us on the blogs. pretentiouscinephile1982.blogspot.com. Check us out on Pinterest, pinterest.com/pretentiouscinephile1982. It's going to do it here for me, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. If I don't see you before the end of the year, Happy New Year. See you next year. Have fun watching, guys. Stay safe. Bye.